September 28th, 2022. At that date, there was no trailer. The only thing we had was this image and that Paul King was going to be directing it. And yet, I tweeted, "Let it be known here first that I am a believer in Wonka. Whoever wants to join me, feel free." Then on July 11th, 2023, a mere 3 days before the SAG strike officially started, the first trailer of Wonka was released. And while it had its defenders, most people thought, God, that looks awful. Where was the musical elements that we've been talking about? Why does Timothee Chalamet seem horrifically miscast? Dear God, is that Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa? People even made TikToks of Chalamet's delivery, seemingly poking fun of it. It was really a tough time. Then just a few months later, on October 12th, a second Wonka trailer hit the internet. Again, there are some people who liked it, but most people still just could not understand why it looked so bad. Nothing was compelling to them at all. All of this is to say that I was in the fucking trenches defending this movie. Well, after a long wait, I finally saw it, and Wonka is good. Yes, Wonka was good. My reputation lives on for another day. Now, how good is it? Yeah, we'll get into that. But one thing to know is my everlasting defense of Wonka was not because of Timothee Chalamet. It was because of Paul King, the director of the Paddington movies. Now, if you had told me in the past, like, hey, they're gonna make some Paddington movies, I would have said, okay, best case scenario, this is a 3-star movie franchise, max. And instead, I got literal sunshine blasting through the screen, hitting my heart, filling my eyes with tears. In fact, I just rewatched Paddington 2 not too long ago, and god damn, that movie hits. So yeah, if Paul King wants to make some young Willy Wonka prequel that no one asked for, I say let him cook. And his signature little quirks that he does in the Paddington movies are in Wonka, and it's just fucking awesome. I don't know how he does it, but he really makes the simplest of scenes really stand out more than they should. All of a sudden, flashbacks aren't a chore that I roll my eyes on. All of a sudden, exposition isn't as boring as it usually is. All of a sudden, my life has real meaning. But the biggest thing that people talk about with Paul King is his level of sincerity that he brings to his movies that is infectious everywhere. And that is in Wonka. Willy Wonka finds a bond with a little girl named Noodle, and in most movies, I just do not care about the little kid that attaches himself to the main character. Call me an asshole, which, I might be, but almost always I'm like, God, this kid is just not a good character. They're just annoying. And Noodle, good name by the way, wasn't annoying. They even share a song together, and it was really wonderful. And the scene is done really well. You feel that warmth inside. You just feel uplifted. And I was like, all right, Paul King did a good one with this one. And then he sticks the landing because I do like the ending. You know exactly where the story's heading and you know exactly what's gonna happen. But again, it just works even still. Even for me, a cynical fuck. Like even I had to just stare at the screen and be like, man, I know I'm smiling more than I should be, fuck. Because this story is very silly. I mean, there's a chocolate cartel. It's a young, silly Willy bars Wonka prequel. It's cartoonish villains everywhere. And it knows that, but it also doesn't dumb it down to some schlock that you get from a lot of kids' movies these days. Because there is that level of true sincerity that really comes through the movie. Now let's get to Timothee Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet. I'll admit, even as a big defender of Wonka before I even saw the movie, I was a little nervous because all I could go off of was the trailers, and I just wasn't sure if I saw that silly goose energy in him. I didn't know if I saw the whimsy in him, and I know he's been little Timmy Tim, but I really needed to see it for myself. And, he's pretty solid. He services the movie pretty well overall. His singing is better than I thought. It's no Broadway voice, but I actually prefer that. Maybe it's just me, but there are certain musical movies where I actually think if the main characters have, like, some God-given angelic voice that is too good, it can actually take me out of the movie. Take La La Land, for example. I'm one of those people that likes the fact that Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling doesn't sound like they belong on Broadway, you know what I mean? I like their voices. But Chalamet is good in those scenes and holds his own. There are definitely some parts of it that may come off a little bit awkward and kind of like he's kind of struggling with the tone a little bit. Or even just how to play a role like this, which is new to him, at least since being some big movie star now. But he tries to bring something a little new to Wonka, his own take on it, and that's all you can ask for when he is playing Willy Wonka. The rest of the cast is good too. It looks like they're having a lot of fun, and no one really stands out in a bad way in my opinion. And a quick shout out to Sally Hawkins, who might have 5 minutes total of screen time. She is the most motherly actor to me. And I don't say motherly in terms of how Letterboxd users use the term mother with other actors and actresses. I legitimately mean like motherly. Like when she is on screen and she is a mom. I felt this in Paddington especially, and in this one too. It just makes me feel, I sound like I'm like simping over her like I do for like other like younger actresses my age, but she just makes me feel warm, you know, like I be glowing. Now I know I might be making this sound like this movie is one of the best of the year, and you know it's really not. For as much of the moments that really worked for me did, I mean, it certainly has its hiccups too. Some of, if not a majority of the humor didn't really land for me, which in turn can make it just feel a little bit awkward. The story is both convoluted and also predictable at the same time, and I'll admit most of the movie is played at one level, which is this playful, whimsical tone, which is fine. And I know this is a kids movie and I know what people are going to say, but it really did feel like there was some lack of true stakes, because everything is so candy coated that you're just like nothing's gonna happen. And I know most people know that about kids movies. I'm not expecting Willy Wonka to fucking die. But when everything is really at this tone, it kind of loses any sense of true conflict, even though on screen, on paper, it sounds like there certainly is. And because Paul King is so good at those more dramatic moments, I felt like this movie could have benefited from either elongating those or just making them a bit stronger. I know some people will definitely not be on this movie's vibe and kind of roll their eyes at it, but honestly, for me, this was just way too enjoyable and sincere to not like. I really think most families will like this especially. Never doubt Paul King. Wonka, 3.5 stars. Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa is honestly great too. In another life, in another version of this movie, best supporting actor, baby. This was a close one though, you know, I'll admit, I was really nervous about this movie. I mean, God, I've been a defender of it for so long. But I know if no one got me, Paul King got me. Yes, sirree.